One thing I would never understand as a sports fan is why the NBA doesn't get Christmas Day all to themselves. The NFL also had games yesterday, but I promise you no one was tuning into those games as much as the NBA games. The NBA always cooks with the Christmas Day slate, and yesterday was no exception. I mean, the NFL was literally shown on Netflix yesterday. Netflix. They were promoting shows like Stranger Things, which came out yesterday, and they had people in the crowd dressed as the children from Stranger Things, like Eleven and etc. That's not what we're here for. We're here to watch football. The NBA doesn't do anything like that because they're shown on ABC and ESPN with their usual commentary with Mike Breen and other people. And so they didn't even care. They were just like, I know you guys want to watch a competitive basketball game, and that's what we're here for. The NFL just feels like it's not even trying because they're trying to do other side stuff. So I would never understand why the NFL has to share that day with the NBA because we already have so many competitive, wonderful matchups in the NBA on Christmas Day. Okay, now that I have my little rant about the NBA versus NFL on Christmas out of the way, I want to talk about the 5 matchups yesterday that we had and react to all of them because at least 3 out of the 5 of them were complete banger matchups. Starting off with the Cavaliers versus the Knicks because this was one of the best games of the day, and it started at 9 a.m. on the West Coast, which means that I probably was not awake to watch the first part of this game, but I did see that the Cavaliers started off really hot, and they were actually hot throughout the entire game, 52% from the floor, 44% from 3, I believe. So it's not like they shot badly, it's not like they played badly. The Knicks had one of the largest comebacks of their season, I think the largest comeback of their season with being down 17 points. I really thought throughout this entire game, once I started watching, that they were finally going to get their first quality win, or one of their first quality wins of the season that could turn around their season. I'm talking about the Cavs here. It ended up being the Knicks that showed again and again why they are one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference this year. And I feel like I really felt the difference between these two teams in crunch time. Because as the Knicks were coming back, they had attacks from everywhere, from a lot of different players, from Tyler Kolek, which we'll get to because, man, Tyler Kolek is one of the best stories in the NBA right now. You could see that I'm still thinking about the NFL versus NBA on Christmas, but so we had Tyler Kolek, we had Mikal Bridges, we had Karl-Anthony Towns, of course Jalen Brunson, and you had so many different people that were pitching in. But for the Cavs, it really just felt like Donovan Mitchell, go save us, go get us a shot. Like, yeah, Darius Garland had 20 points, but his shot diet just doesn't, from the eye test, just doesn't feel right. It just feels like he's taking shots that are not, they don't have a high percentage of going in. And even though Darius Garland is a great player, I just feel like he's forcing it a little bit this season because everyone is expecting more from him to be that second scorer next to Donovan Mitchell. And Evan Mobley, don't even get me started on Evan Mobley because I didn't even feel his presence in crunch time. I felt like Mitchell Robinson had way more of an impact than Evan Mobley did. And Jared Allen as well, I feel like he had only 7 points and 8 rebounds. If you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. And that's just not going to cut it. 7 points and 8 rebounds for a guy that's making the amount of money that he's making is just, it makes him a prime trade candidate for this team. So for the Cavs, we've been saying this throughout the entire season, but I just feel like you have to do something major at the trade deadline. You gave this team of Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jarrett Allen, and Evan Mobley as your core. You gave it time, and you even had a whole season last year where we went 64-18, and you were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, but I just feel like that team has run its course. The prime trade candidates that are there are, obviously, as I mentioned before, Jarrett Allen, and I feel like you should also explore the trade market for Darius Garland. He's obviously going to draw some interest because he is a point guard, and a lot of teams need that point guard. He's not such a fit next to Donovan Mitchell anymore, and I feel like you need to do something because Donovan Mitchell is playing so damn well right now. So leaving the Cavs behind, because obviously we should talk about the team that actually won the game, the New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson was great as always. The Knicks attack, like I mentioned before, felt a lot more balanced for their starters. But beyond their starters, they also had the emergence of Jordan Clarkson with 25 points and key threes, and Tyler Kolek as well, who had 16 points and also a couple of fourth quarter threes. And so that's, I feel like, the main difference behind why the Knicks are figuring it out, and it seems like they're figuring it out, is their bench depth, because Jordan Clarkson and Tyler Kolek have been replacing the production that you would usually get from Deuce McBride or Landry Shamet, who have been out. It also feels like Mitchell Robinson has got like every single offensive rebound. He is that good at rebounding the ball that just makes it feel like they get so many more opportunities to make shots. But let me just read you this one stat about Tyler Kolek. Tyler Kolek is averaging 12 points and 6 assists in his last 5 games, and he's a plus 49. A plus 49. I mean, I know yesterday on the broadcast they were talking about how his plus minus has been crazy, but I never thought it would be plus 49. He's literally the difference for this team right now. Yeah, Jordan Clarkson is good, but we always have known that Jordan Clarkson is good. But no one expected the 34th pick in the draft, Tyler Kolek, to be this good right now. All right, moving on to the next game of the day, we had the Spurs versus the Thunder for the third time in the last 2 weeks. And the Spurs beat the Thunder for the third time in the last 2 weeks. Now, this was completely unexpected for me. If we look back at the 2 previous losses, we know that the Thunder lost to the Spurs in the semifinal. Okay, it's fine to lose maybe one time to a really good team in the Spurs. And then you go and you lose in San Antonio. Okay, that's in San Antonio. Maybe the Spurs were super hyped for their home game, and the Spurs never lose at home, basically. They're 11-2, I think, at home. But to lose in OKC on Christmas Day after you've lost to a team 2 times, I think now it's really time to talk about how the Spurs might have the Thunder's number. If there's one playoff series I really, really want to see this year, I want to see Spurs versus Thunder, because I know it's going to have amazing games. And the Spurs actually have, of all the teams, the one chance to actually beat the Thunder, I feel like, because they match up really, really well. And the crazy part of this all is that the Thunder have lost 5 games on the season, of which 3 of them are to the San Antonio Spurs. Yeah, they lost to Portland, they lost to Minnesota, but no, 3 of them, of the 5 losses, are to the San Antonio Spurs. That is just crazy to me. But before talking about the Spurs, I want to briefly touch on the Thunder. My main question is, and I know I'm probably going to get some controversy for this, but did we rush to think that the OKC Thunder are as good as the 73-9 Warriors or the 72-10 Bulls? We know, by no means am I diminishing their dominance, we know that the OKC Thunder are damn good. They're defensively one of the best teams in NBA history. They're the number 1 defense in the league by a whole mile. And offensively, they're amazing with SGA, with Chet Holmgren, with J-Dub, with all the depth that they have on their bench with Isaiah Joe. I could go on and on about how great they are. So by no means am I trying to diminish their dominance. But just food for thought, the Cavs, they started last season 27-4 or something along those lines, and they ended the season 64-18, which is obviously not 73-9 great, or 72-10 great even. OKC is sitting at 26-5 now. And you could say that, yeah, they lost 3 games to the San Antonio Spurs. If they never played the Spurs, they wouldn't even be in this position. If they didn't even struggle against the Spurs, as they didn't even struggle against other teams, then they wouldn't be in this position. But just like OKC lost to the Spurs 3 times, the Cavs lost to the Hawks 2 times during their run. So you could say that the Hawks somewhat had the Cavs' number during that run, just like the Spurs seem to have OKC's number. Now, obviously, this could be an overreaction, and OKC could go on to win 70-plus games and break the record, and we would not be having this conversation at all, but I think it's just a little bit of food for thought if we overreacted to their championship run last year and how miles ahead they seem to be. Okay, but why has OKC lost more recently, including a loss to the Timberwolves? Well, Alex Caruso has not been shooting the ball well, especially yesterday. He went 1 for 10 or something like that, and when he finally hit a 3, he was like, oh my god, thank god I hit a 3. But Lou Dort also has not been shooting the ball well, and he probably, I feel like the OKC Thunder have to move on from someone at some point on the roster, and it would probably be Lou Dort. He played well yesterday, but I just feel like their shooting from the role players has not been as good. And J-Dub, he did not look like himself yesterday, and it begs the question, is his hand still bothering him from the playoffs? Could that be something that's affecting his performance? He only had 12 points yesterday, and I think he was like on a bunch of shots as well. Shea also has not been amazing as of late. He had 22 points yesterday and kept his streak alive of like whatever 20-point games, but he was on really, really bad efficiency. So I don't know, I feel like the whole team is kind of going through this slump, and that's going to happen throughout the season, which is why it's so damn hard to win 73 games or even 72 games. And of course, it also doesn't help when you play a team that is so well matched up with you and who clearly has your number. Over the span of 2 weeks, you play them 3 times. After the game, J-Dub said something about how they have a 7-5 guy on the other team and how they really don't match up well with the Spurs, and I agree with that sentiment. The Spurs look really, really comfortable out there. De'Aaron Fox was amazing yesterday. He just got to his spot every single time, and every single time it felt like the Thunder were coming back into the game, he kind of put it to bed and was like, no, I'm going to take this mid-range shot and make sure that we still stay ahead. Stephon Castle just looks as poised out there, and he's only in his second year now? Like, that's incredible. He is slowly becoming one of my favorite players in the league. And so I really do want to talk about how, especially with all this Giannis trade rumors and everybody being like, oh yeah, Giannis next to Vic would be one of the most amazing things. I just feel like you can't do anything to this team right now. They're gelling too well. If you trade away someone like Dylan Harper, and I heard this on Numbers on the Board podcast, if you trade away Dylan Harper and he becomes someone great like how Shea did in OKC, you're never going to forgive yourself. All for a title window of 3 years with Giannis, and you already are beating OKC. You're already beating the team that nobody else can beat and everybody else is scared of. So why would you make changes right now? For me, for the Spurs, I would just make smaller trades, like maybe trading away Julian Champagnie or upgrading some of those smaller spots like on the bench. You've already shown that you can compete at a high level. And I think it's really time to start thinking about the Spurs as a real title contender. They're on an 8-game win streak right now. They're playing some of their best basketball of the season, or even with Vic, they're playing some of their best basketball that they've ever had with him. They can definitely beat the OKC Thunder, we know that. But I think once we see that they can beat other teams, other top teams like the Nuggets or like even the Knicks on the other side because they lost to them in the NBA Cup Championship, once we see that they can consistently beat those teams, I think everyone will agree that they're a real title contender. And next we had one of the more boring games of the day. We can't all have 10 out of 10 games on Christmas, but we had Mavs versus Warriors. I'm not going to talk too much about this game because it was somewhat expected. Like, we expected the Warriors to win probably because they're at home and they're probably a better team than the Mavericks. But Anthony Davis, man, why does he always have to get injured? I just want to see this team healthy with Coop, Kyrie, and AD, but I don't know if we're ever going to see that. I just wanted to see what the ceiling of this team is with those 3 players healthy because I could see the vision, but I don't think we're ever going to get it. I mean, Cooper Flag just looks more and more amazing every single game, and the only thing that's really not there as part of his game right now is the 3-point shot, but that's obviously going to come around because we know that he can make that shot, especially with being wide open. He makes those shots already, so it's just a matter of getting in the gym, working on it, and of course he's going to do that. But AD makes this team so much more better, and you can see the impact that he had, especially with their Tuesday night win against the Nuggets. You can see the impact that he has when he does play on this team. But if you're never going to be able to stay on the floor, then I think this team really needs to explore ways of getting off of his money and improving the team, because your ceiling is just never going to be very high if he can never get on the floor and actually play up to his fullest potential. Okay, moving on to the Houston versus Lakers game. This was also kind of a boring game because Houston, I don't think, ever trailed in this game. I think they led the entire time wire to wire. While I was watching this game, the only thing I could think about was, wow, the Lakers defense really sucks and they need to do something about that. And sure enough, after the game, JJ Redick was taking shots at the players and he was like, they should be uncomfortable at their practice because of how bad our defense is. And really, I think their personnel is perfectly fine when it comes to defense. They have Jared Vanderbilt, they have Marcus Smart, they have players that have that defensive potential. They just don't care about defense enough. Like, that's the feeling that I got throughout this entire game, is that Houston just wanted the ball more, they wanted to get rebounds more, they cared more, and the Lakers just looked like they didn't want to be there at all. And I don't know if that really starts with LeBron and how he has said multiple times that he would rather be with his family at home on Christmas and watching from TV, and so he just didn't care, and so that trickled down the roster. It just felt like the Rockets cared more, and obviously the Rockets have not been playing amazingly as of late. I think they're 1-4 in their last, well, at least coming into that game, they're 1-4 in their last 5 games, and they had just lost to the Clippers, who are really, really bad, obviously. So yeah, it was not a good game for the Lakers, and I feel like in order for them to compete with the top 4 teams at that level, because obviously their record is there, they need to do something about their defense. And whether that's making a trade for someone who cares more on defense, who is gonna get that defensive mentality going throughout the team, or just having a sit-down talk and being like, we need to really focus on locking in on defense and making that our number 1 priority. I don't know, but until they fix that, it's not looking good for them to be real title contenders. And finally, we had our last game of the day, which was Nuggets versus T-Wolves, probably our best game of the day. We always know that these 2 teams are going to give us a classic, usually overtime or double overtime, and this time it was an overtime game. And as soon as I turned on this game and I saw Jokic going to work with 18 points in the first quarter, I knew that it was going to be one of those classic games for him. He ended the night with 56, 16, and 15. I just feel like we take Jokic for granted so much nowadays because he's a 3-time MVP. He's probably going to be a top 5 player in the league, top 10 player in the league when we're done. He's just he just is unstoppable when he gets going. And he really did everything for this team in the fourth quarter, in overtime, especially in the first half, even keeping them close when the Minnesota Timberwolves were going on their run. It was all him. Jamal Murray started cooking later in the game, but to keep it where it was and to keep the team going and making those passes to Spencer Jones, to all these other people who are stepping up for them in the absence of their three starters, Nikola Jokic is at the forefront of that. For the Timberwolves, this is obviously a bad loss because you had a 9-point lead in overtime, right out the gates of overtime, and then you blew it. It's okay because you should have never really been in control of this game without Anthony Edwards' heroics, because he had 14 points in the first quarter, and I thought, wow, he's going to have a really, really good game. He already told Shams Charania that he's going to have 30 or 40 points in this Christmas Day game. But then he gets injured on one of those plays, and he's holding onto his shoulder. He doesn't look quite right for like 2 quarters. And then in the fourth quarter, he really sparks that comeback and hits one of the most unreal heroic shots to tie the game with like 2 seconds remaining. But overall, it really felt like the Nuggets had more control over this game, and I mean, they had a 15-point lead with 4 minutes remaining. Like, if they just closed out the game properly, they would have won the game. And especially, I feel like for the Timberwolves, I saw a tweet from Kevin O'Connor about this. The impact without Rudy Gobert is really, really crazy. It says from his tweet that they were a plus 18 in 34 minutes, and then without Rudy Gobert, they were minus 22 in 19 minutes. Minnesota really needs to figure out what to do when Gobert is not on the floor. They can't really rely on him that much because he's obviously going to foul a lot. He's going against Jokic, for heaven's sake. He's going to probably foul out. To win against these really quality teams, they need to figure out how to survive without Anthony Edwards, without Rudy Gobert, because I mean, Julius Randle was really good last night, but it just wasn't enough. So yeah, that's all 5 games recapped. It was a really, really good slate of NBA games. Like I said, maybe 3 out of the 5 of them were really quality games. And I think that's all the NBA can ask for, really, because you're not going to get all 5 of them being amazing overtime clutch games. So I think overall it was a really, really good success. Let me know what you guys think about the NBA slate yesterday and your thoughts on it in the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Happy holidays.